So good morning, everyone. We're talking about grassroots football in India. Let me introduce the panel then. To my left is Shirish Kulkarni. He's the owner of DSK Shivajian, also has the Liverpool Soccer Club. Is that for youngsters? Um, and he invested in a club which was in the second division, and now they've reached the top division. Shaji Prabhakaran, formerly with the AIFF, then with FIFA in India, and is now also the author of the book Back to the Roots, and that's actually the talking point of this entire discussion. He talks about, where we're lacking as far as grassroots soccer is concerned in our country. And Rishikesh joins us. He's the director of football of Adidas, someone who's invested a lot in grassroots football. I covered that famous, or I don't know, should I call it an infamous press conference when Sepp Blatter came, called India a sleeping giant. Many people still tell me that when is that giant going to, wake up? It's been a long time. It's going to be close to a decade since he said that. However, there are small strides being made, not giant leaps, but small strides. And we'll try and talk about the problems that grassroots football has faced in India. Shaji, I'll start with you because your book talks about that. Tell us the concern areas for soccer in India as such.
First of all, good morning. Thank you, Nikhil. It's a really wonderful platform, and it's really a privilege for me to be here. I'm sure this platform will grow and will become a great voice for sports in India. Uh, uh, as the problems are plenty, but if I start talking, it will take a day. But then the good thing is, the positive thing is that this is the fastest growing sport in India. Among the youth and at the school level is the most played sport, and the opportunities are growing. And we have like Sirish, the best example, who has invested more than 20 million into his football project with no commercial interest in mind. That shows the passion. We have so many people like Sirish who is investing in a sport which is not a number one or a number two or number three sport in India, but we are, well below ranked, it's a 130 ranked country in the world. But then this under 17 World Cup which is coming in India, which will really open up this sport to the youngsters, and I'm sure, the federation and the government and the other stakeholders take best use of it. The biggest problem what I see is, we need to have a top league in the country. Today we don't have a league which is really engages the local fans. Yeah, we have,
Many fans will say there are two leagues. Not you say we don't have one league, they'll say we have two leagues.
No, I say that we have, 200 million plus fans who follow international football. They have, hardcore fans of Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, Real Madrid, Barcelona, all totals around more than 200 million. But then that's a fabulous opportunity for a country of 1.25 billion to hook those fans into Indian football. The tragedy is that we don't have a property, we don't have a league which really binds them into 24 into 7, 365 days. And these leagues, they are investing quite a lot. They have invested more than 200 million, like ISL. But then it's, it happens just for 3 months. And then it's like a Diwali, festival which comes and goes. It's a Christmas which comes and goes. But then it's not a 365 days affair. And a football or a sport cannot be developed which is just, comes for a short period. No. So for me, the sport can only grow when there is engagement and association with the sport which is 24 into 7. And we certainly lack that. And that's a fabulous opportunity for the people here who invest in sport. They should look for, long term and not for short term gains. And all are bleeding the money. The worst part is, they are bleeding money in a significant manner, like somebody losing 20 crore, 30 crore. So I am asking, how long you can bleed? Because, that's all conceived in a wrong notion. Like IPL has become an example for other sport, but I would say that IPL is not the example for other sports to follow. They need to see that what is there for that sport, and how they should put, the league or a system or a structure by which they can grow. And
Okay. So because you mentioned that, sorry to interrupt you, because you raised that very pertinent question saying, how long are you going to bleed? So let's have Shirish answer that question right now. You said it's not an investment where he's getting any profits. How long are you going to bleed, Shirish?
Fortunately, I don't bleed that much, so I think it's I can still be on a better side that way. But yeah, it's a good point. I mean, it's a very important point because no one can bleed for that long. You end of the day, at some point you have to have a clear plan. Okay, this is the day when we start getting our investments back. For me, I like we were having a chat last night as well. Is that I'm not considering the league, one league, two league, three leagues, separate leagues, whatever it is. My focus is to make sure that I develop quality players, and the players then, I mean, the result that will come out of that, my entire investment is on the players, how they perform, where they perform. They get placed in Europe, they do well for India. That's my return on investment. So I will get the money back, yes, one day, and the sport will grow, the leagues will grow. But can I set a definite timeline today? No. But if I can give you a number, maybe somewhere between 5 and 10 years, I think we can start the numbers.
Okay, tell us about your story. Like I said, you're not one of those investors that came in with a lot of money. You said, listen, I need an I-League team or I need an ISL team. You started small with a club called DSK Shivajians. They've now grown on to become an I-League team. Tell us your story, how it started. I believe you were a Liverpool fan, and that's where it all started. Is it true?
See, I'm a football fan. Yes, I am a Liverpool fan.
I feel for you on that front.
Yeah, let time speak about that. It's not the platform. Anyway, so coming to the point, I was playing for this club called Shivajians Football Club. It's a local club, started back in 1987. Was playing for it and used to sponsor them. We used to play the local league, the PDFA, Pune District Football Association League. And 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I kept sponsoring them. And then one day I realized, well, okay, the numbers were very, very small, I mean, for whatever we've done today. But I said, it's not going to get us anywhere. I mean, we got to progress because I want to do something more. So I spoke to the owners back then who were there and I said, well, let's make it a professional team. Let's go out, do something. And initially, of course, they were very reluctant because I don't think anybody would have heard such a proposition in their life, that someone wants to come and take on a local club. I said, why do you want to do it with us? You can just go out and do whatever you want. I said, no, because I played for the club and my loyalties lie with you. I can't just go out and, I mean, it's easy for me, probably would have been better for me, but I said, I can't do that. It's not right. Ethically, it's wrong as well. So I said, they agreed to it and we went professional. We scouted the country, got players, played the local league, started winning the local leagues. And that's when I realized that, okay, now is the time to make the big jump, move national. Played the second division, first year, spent a lot of money in getting good quality players, but missed out by 1 point. It was quite heartbreaking because we were literally there, we would have made it through. And then I realized that, okay, now when I sat down again and started reconciling the accounts, realized that, well, I burnt money, unnecessarily when I could have probably played it smarter. That's when the whole academy idea came up. I said, okay, let's start investing in our own players, invest, I mean, start seeding. Then we can one day, make sure that this whole thing can be more sustainable, more achievable. So, but I knew that since I was not in the I-League or, whatever top flight in terms of the National League, I was a local club, not known at all. I would struggle to get quality players in that under 16, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, which we wanted. Hence, I started looking for a technical tie-up, some sort of a name which can bring me, that kind of that hook, the pull, as we call it. So went over to Europe, met a lot of clubs, and eventually, got a sweet deal with Liverpool. My heart was always there, and I think I consider myself to be very lucky because Liverpool agreed to this concept because we are the only academy in the world, not only with Liverpool, but with any other club in the world, to do this kind of program. We're the only residential academy in the world. So I got it, and now today, if you see, this year we have 9 academy players playing in my first team in the I-League in just 1 year.
So that's a great model. I have to say, and I'm not saying because you're sitting here, there are multiple schools that have come up they've tied up with the Barcelonas and the Arsenals of the world, but I've always heard good things about this Liverpool academy because a lot of people tell me that this is not that one of those money-making things, but it's actually a genuine academy where you're actually getting coaches down from Liverpool. We'll talk about that a little later, but since we're talking about the money aspect, and that's very important, I'll get Rishi into that. You know, I know that Adidas is investing a lot in soccer. Recently, I saw you do the unthinkable, get two football players to play, two cricket guys to play football and promote the brand. So it's changing, it's going the other way, which is a great sign. But tell me, compared to, let's say, cricket, what's the ratio that you're looking at, cricket vis-a-vis soccer, in terms of your spend?
Right. I mean, I think Shaji alluded to that a little earlier. I mean, football is, in my opinion, actually, it's actually the fastest rising sport in terms of participation. I think definitely in urban India, I think the rate at which urban kids are taking to football is much faster than they are taking to cricket. And I think a lot of it is down to the aspirational value from the big European leagues and international tournaments that kids have access to on television. And you mentioned about us utilizing two cricketers to launch a football facility. One of the reasons we actually did that was because none of the Indian footballers were available at the time because of their I-League commitments. But then we specifically chose these two Adidas assets because they genuinely love football. They follow the, Real Madrid and Manchester United. They watch a lot of football. They play a lot of football in their warm-ups as well. And we just thought, it's a great way to actually use these guys to promote football. I mean, cricketers have a natural affinity in the media and amongst fan base, which sadly Indian footballers lack today. Hopefully that changes in 5 years' time. From our perspective, grassroots football is the key. That is the future for India, because ultimately, yes, we're in it to sell boots and jerseys, but we don't benefit if the pie doesn't grow bigger. So our objective, although it's not a direct objective, is to actually increase participation at grassroots. We want kids to have easy access to football. I mean, academies like Shirish and some of the other ones are fantastic, but even growing up in my younger days, there was very little access to playing football. There weren't dedicated football fields, and I know it's a very simple game to pick up and play. All you need is maybe a couple of markers and a ball, and that's it. You've got a game going. So one of the objectives of starting the base was actually to let kids in Delhi NCR have non-stop action and access to football in this country. And in all our investments, the money that we put behind is, well, obviously cricket stars cost a lot, but in terms of pure activation money, I think we spend a lot more on football activation than we do on cricket. Simply because, I think the opportunity is there going forward. And with partners like Bayern Munich and Manchester United, we're just able to bring this to life and really appeal to the kids where it really, it touches the heart.
Okay, that's an eye-opener. I didn't know you're pumping in more money into soccer than cricket. But Shaji, now to the million-dollar question. I'm sure you get asked this very often. When is India going to play in the Football World Cup? That answers the question. You started with a laugh.
It's tough, because football is the most competitive sport in the world. And today's space, I don't see in next 20 years. But then our strength lies in our number. And if we, put our brains and heads and we are committed to develop a world-beating team, we can definitely find, best 11 players. But it's difficult to, pinpoint a year. What I see is I can say, that we already missed 2026 also, because the gap is huge, and the way we tackle our 6-year-old, 7-year-old will determine, the future champions of football. So therefore, we are not there at all because our schools are not encouraging sport. And we don't have a structure where, the parents are hooked to football because they don't see a career opportunity there. And that's all need to change. So therefore, That's why the most fundamental part is to have a league. Like, yesterday, all were hooked to television. Why? Because, the big numbers were played out on IPL auction. So therefore, that should, perceptually, that plays a great role. Yeah? Because if somebody is earning a 1 crore or a 3 crore for 3 months, and football definitely has a potential to even cross that barrier.
But how will that happen? So, aspiration is fine to have that. Shirish, you can help me answer that. But how can that happen? I mean, comparing it with the IPL gets the best talent in that particular sport from across the globe to come and play there. In football, we can't do that. We can't get the best talent in the globe. And when you're getting to see those guys on TV, why would you then, watch the second best or the third best talent in a league that is playing here?
I think what China is doing is something very interesting. First and foremost, the media has to back this whole thing, because in terms of the ability of the players, I think we are there. We are probably about 50-60% already there. As Shaji said, we start investing in our 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds, and 10-year-olds today. In about 15 years' time, these boys will make sure that you reach that level. We're not talking about winning the World Cup here. We're talking about qualifying, which is not that hard. We can get there. We just have to focus. Everybody has to use and channelize their energy to ensuring that that goal is achieved. But, coming to the whole thing about how it is to be done and what is to be done, I think the China model is quite interesting. The investors that have invested in the ISL today, if they start focusing more on how we can make sure that my team and my club is more, on a long term, how we can make a difference on the 12-month basis. Like, your season goes on for 10 months, right? World over. Our season is for 3 and 3, 6 months. That's it. Split between the two leagues. First is to combine that. All the owners have to channelize it and make sure that we achieve it as a goal. Focus on the younger players, not look at foreigners for now. If you want to get the names, get the names. Spend the money in getting those names who are not retired, who still want to make it. There are enough players. If somebody like an Oscar can go to China, you can have him in India instead.
Rishi, you think that kind of money is floating around for an Indian club to afford Oscar? Because he gives the China example. I know that it's a conscious decision by the Chinese government to be part of this. They've said that, listen, we will create a model which is like the English Premier League in China. That's the only way we can go up. But the government pumps in money. That's not going to happen here. So is the money floating around in the corporate world to get, say, an Oscar?
I think the money is there. I mean, I don't think Indian corporates lack the financial resources. What China has effectively done is they've taken the MLS model, which introduced the Beckham rule, and scaled it 15, 20 times. And they've got a lot of eyeballs because of that. A lot of European leagues are worried about losing their best players in their prime. And it's definitely driven a lot of media attention and a lot of spectator interest in Chinese football. Whether that relates into success for the Chinese national team and long-term success of the league will all depend on, and we'll probably get our first indication during the 2019 Asian Championships and see how China firstly qualifies and then does in that tournament, and then obviously the World Cup. For India, I mean, the ISL is a step in that direction. Obviously, we've not done it like the Chinese have done it, amplified it so many times. From a sponsor's perspective, yes, I mean, if these kind of players start coming into the country in the prime of their careers, definitely there would be huge interest because Indian youngsters and players are aspiring to become the Oscars of the world or some of the other players who've made their move to China. So I think from a sponsor's perspective, from an Adidas perspective, I think definitely if there was this kind of interest in getting these kind of players down here, would be significant. Whether that's sustainable in the long term, whether that's going to deliver results in the long term for the national team and for the domestic league, I think it's good that we have China's lead to follow and we can actually test the theory.
I don't know financially, but definitely will help the standard go up. Because if your Indian player plays with an Oscar alongside him, he's definitely going to learn a few things. Now, the other argument is, one is the financial aspect. The other argument that most people I meet will present is that, listen, no matter how much money you pump in, we Indians cannot make it at the top level because genetically we're not there as far as. Do you think that's a flawed argument? And I'll get Shaji and Shirish to respond since you've seen soccer all across the globe. Shaji, you start with that.
Well, I don't think I've been to, many parts of this world, and we are not inferior to anyone, physically, genetically, nowhere. Only thing is we are not providing the opportunities what the children gets in the best of the football countries. So that's the
So a
huge gap.
9-year-old in, let's say, Spain or England versus a 9-year-old in India.
Absolutely, there is no difference. Our kids are much more motivated and hungry than them. Yeah, but the sad part is, there are no opportunities. Like they go to school, they don't even allow to go out of their classroom because our culture is so bad. And we are developing our kids in a very, very protected way. Even, if the child sweats, the parents gets worried. This is unnatural thing happening. So therefore, that kind of protective environment we are creating for children, and our education system is a big, negative on all aspects. Because what I say is that, government has to see, sports other than over and above producing a champion. Because to create a better society, to create a constructive society, to, save the health cost, that all the government, like, China, example is why they are investing so huge in football. Because the one reason is their economically, they want to reach all across the world. Because that football, connects the world. And their sleek, the road what they're connecting, through Iran to the UK, everywhere, that's all talk about football and, increasing their economic power.
Right.
And they have, initiated a program where connecting 50,000 schools by 2025. They're developing 75,000 pitches, and they are developing coaches. They are developing, all aspects of, and it is government initiative. And where we are, we have 1,400 crores some budget, and 80% of goes to the salaries and maintaining of the facilities. And we are, talking about producing world beaters. It will never happen, because our focus is not there, and we are not integrating health, education, social spending, and sports. As long as we take sports in isolation, we will never be able to, compete with the world. And here we have an opportunity because our young generation, wants to get engaged with the sports, but then the school blocks that because they think that, the sports means it's negative, and it is all contributing.
Okay. Valid arguments. I'm going back to the genetic argument. When I was saying that, you were shaking your head in disagreement. The flip side of that genetic argument is, I mean, look at an Andres Iniesta or a Lionel Messi. They're all 5 feet 6 inches, not big guys, and yet they're so good. So can that be a model that India can follow?
See, I agree totally with Shaji to begin with. Genetically, I think we are second to none. I mean, we just can't even think on those lines. It's wrong. Because when you talk about human beings, everyone's the same. Forget about the color and the caste and whatever hell, you want to discriminate them. But otherwise, we're all the same, right? So if you're fed properly, you're going to turn out all right. If you're taught properly, you're going to turn out all right. So in terms of football, now, when you talk about Iniesta, Messi, and you talk about a central defender who's a big guy, right? Okay. So the abilities are different. What they have to perform on the pitch is different. So what you're bred and built accordingly is different. Iniesta and Messi, yes, absolutely world-class talents, but how they were made sure that, they become there, and their individual efforts also matter a lot. What I have seen at my academy with the players that have come in, we have got 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, extraordinary abilities. We are now using, making sure that, their footballing talent is used in terms of how they can strategize, how technically they can become better, and how what I always like to say is how you can become a smart footballer. Because when you're on the pitch, you have to be smart. Look at David Silva. The way he turns, the way he can, control that left wing is extraordinary. There's nobody better in the world. You gave Iniesta as an example. Why is he known? Why was Xavi known? Because they're all smart footballers. They're not well built. There's nothing to do with genes. Are you telling all Spanish are the smartest people or the, most talented people in the world? No, but they are taught and they have been trained to play that way. That's what the game demanded. If we do that, and when I say we, it's not only about me and Shaji, it's about everybody. It has to be the federation, the government, the team owners, the coaches, and more importantly, the media. Everyone has to back the project, then we can succeed. And I think that time probably can be reduced from 10 years to 5 years also. We never know.
Okay. The other, yeah, sorry, you want to go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to this discussion actually, because I actually have a real life example of the question that you've just asked about the DNA and the, all of that. And we conduct a small inter-school tournament, in conjunction with FC Bayern, Bayern Munich. And recently we conducted the national finals in Delhi. And we had Paul Breitner, absolute legend who's won the World Cup in '74 with Germany. And he was essentially scouting for the best players who would eventually go to Munich to play in a World Finals. And whilst he was scouting, essentially, I asked him the exact same question. I said, where would you rate these kids in terms of pure talent to what you have in the academy back in Munich or anywhere else in Europe that you've seen? And he said, at this level, at this age, there's no difference. Indian boys are as talented as the ones we have back in Europe. And he made a very valid point. He said, because I asked him, I said, where does the difference start to appear? And he said the difference starts to appear definitely nutrition plays a part, but I don't think Indian kids are as malnourished as we used to be 15, 20 years ago. The difference really lies in the number of hours of football that these guys actually play between the ages of 14 to 18. And I think that golden rule of 10,000 hours of football or 10,000 hours of whatever activity you want to do, I think these kids get to that 10,000 hour mark a lot quicker than Indian kids do. And Indian football and Indian players are going to develop better the sooner they reach that 10,000 hour mark. And the more football that they play, not less football. So again, tournaments that we have, leagues that we have, they should be of longer duration, not shorter duration.
Right. Looking at various ways to improve Indian football, the other big discussion point is a person of Indian origin. Now, we've seen this being done by most countries across the globe. In fact, I remember talking to Novi Kapadia, the senior football journalist, and he said he went to cover a World Cup in the US, and he said none of those guys could speak English, and they played for the American team. What's the harm? Our rules are such that we can't allow, but there's plenty of Indian origin, talented guys who are playing abroad. Where do you stand on allowing them to hold that PIO card and then be allowed to play for India? Because that's a short-term fix. Shaji, to you first.
No, that's a fundamental issue in terms of, having dual citizenship. India doesn't allow. So therefore...
But the entire world is doing it. Southeast Asia, where you worked...
Yeah, see, like Kyrgyzstan today...
Afghanistan...
has they've gone ahead in ranking just, using that rule. They got players from Kazakhstan, Russia to play for their team, and Afghanistan is another example. But then, I don't want to endorse this because we are 1.25 billion, and why we need to look around the world? We need to be here. If we can't find a talent here, if we cannot groom the talent here, we look absolutely foolish. That's a short-term approach, and it is not going to sustainable. And it's really what kind of message we are sending to the world. 1.25 billion, we can't find 11 good players, we can't groom them, we can't feed them. We have the superpowers here who are, the world giants in economic, the richest people here. We don't lack anything. What we lack is the commitment, the structure, a long-term vision, and to create a program which really achieves those things. And this absolutely, I even spoke to Stephen Constantine when he given this new, he spoke in the media. Then I called him and I said, why you are doing this? Because you are talking this in public. this will demoralize your team because you are saying openly that I don't believe in you and I need player from overseas to come and play. And he got angry. Well, I said, you should not, because you know that why you are doing, because you are a head coach. If you want to do it, you do it in a, behind the curtain. Nobody knows. You find one or two players is good, okay, but then it will never happen.
Okay, okay. Shirish, your thoughts on that?
See, there's no harm in doing it, but if you want to achieve a short-term goal. But I mean, I'm on the same page as Shaj. If you have to look in the larger picture, that is not the approach to go ahead with. And again, fundamental issues, with the government and everything, is going to create a different problem altogether. So best way is to just stay away from it, and just keep focusing on what you have with you and 10,000 hours of football. I think you will get it. We need a national football center. We don't have it, a training center.
Sadly. Okay, great. Any questions that people would want to ask? Yeah, I don't want to ask all of them. Okay, we'll start with that gentleman there in the spectacles. Can a mic be passed to him? Or can you be loud enough? Go ahead. Wait, let me come to you one sec.
So my question is that, are we hunting for the right players at the right places? Because all the academies that are growing up are in the urban centers, and most of them are concentrated around a radius of around 20 to 30 kilometers within that, from that urban center. But I think the real talent lies in the rural India. So are we doing enough to tap that talent? And my second question is that, how is the Under-17 World Cup going to help the Indian football?
It's a very pertinent question. The sad part is we don't have that kind of a scouting network in place, whereby each and every talented kids can, hit the radar. That's not there, because internationally, if you see, it is the club, where they scout for the talent. And unfortunately, we don't have a club structure whereby, the clubs are looking for those raw talents, and polish those diamonds and make them shine. Today, Shirish is one best example. He's trying to do that. But then we need, 1,000 Shirish kind of personalities in India who takes this, it is a core responsibility of a club, because it has got, positive impacts, because they save a lot of revenue in buying players, and they make revenue by selling players. So therefore, unfortunately, we don't have a club structure where they are looking for raw talents and developing them. And as long as that doesn't happen, we will keep missing those Messis of India. Yeah? And we are yet to find even Baichungs. Yeah? So therefore, that's unfortunate part. Whatever is happening is in isolation. Everybody is doing their own way, and that doesn't, converge to the vision what India should have. So that's again unfortunate. And coming back to the World Cup, yeah, definitely, World Cup is a great opportunity for India to showcase its talents to the world. But I would say, we are 2 years behind in terms of preparation, in terms of everything. But then, if the team, they have shown the potential in the Under-16 AFC Championship, if they do, if they perform to that level, they draw a match even, that would really throw open, and the belief among Indian people that, oh, we can compete against the best of the world. Because I myself seen Under-17 World Cup, I can tell you, those teams can beat, in South Asia, senior teams 7-0, 5-0. That's the level of football they play. So therefore, even if we can draw, and if we move to the second round, that would really, drive a lot of interest in football. And our people, who are sitting in fans, they will start believing that, oh, we can play football, we can compete among the best, and that should be a fabulous opportunity, what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, that lady right there at the back. Mike's coming to you.
Talking about the recent merger that's in talks where the ISL and the I-League is planning to get merged. So having spoken to a few players, they say that the chances for the upcoming talent is going to die out if that happens, because the number of players who are going to play at that level is going to reduce drastically, considering the number of teams that will be playing together will be only 10, is what the talks say. So what is your take on it? Because if you are talking about grassroots, then again that is going to be affected, right? Because in terms of morale, in terms of improving the standards, because if you want the grassroots to perform better as they grow and they come up, you want them to play with the senior players and a lot of international players as well, right?
As long as the merger is concerned, I'm not really paying attention to what is happening there. But what the players have to say, I mean, we have to always take into consideration, because they are the ones who are actually going to make sure whatever we do is going to be successful. But I think let's assume for a minute that the merger does happen, and we have got 3 different leagues. I think personally it will be good in a way, because we'll actually have a lot more players playing in the system, identifiable in the system, and everything happening at the same time. Today what happens is, the problems that we face as I-League clubs, unfortunately, the entire importance is being given to ISL. That happens before. We get like a 20-day break or maybe a maximum 1-month break, and then the I-League starts. My players, I had almost 6 of them playing in the ISL from my club. All of them came back injured. All of them were out for almost 1 more month. And I'm just saying, why do I send them if they're gonna get hurt and come back? What's the point? So if the merger happens, if we have a system which like the parallel leagues as they're calling it, if that happens, I think it'll be better, because then we can protect our players and we can improve with what we have. In terms of finding the ability, the one more thing that should come out of the merger is that making sure that the clubs invest on the youth. If that happens, then I don't think there is a problem. Let the merger happen, let it not happen, but the clubs have to go down and start getting 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, and investing time on them. Making sure that they play football, making sure that they eat the right kind of things, they're being monitored on an everyday basis. And I think if we have, like, let's say 10 and 10, 20 clubs or 30 clubs do that, in 5 years' time, I think we'll see a big change happening around. I mean, classic examples, I've got 3 of my players who are playing for India already. So I think we did that in 2 years. If 30 clubs do that, I think just imagine what they can achieve in 5 years.
Okay, one final question. Okay, right at the back, gentleman there.
Hello. Hi. So my question is for any of the panelists. What, according to you, are the strategies placed by the federations right now to improve grassroots football in India? And do you actually agree with those, or do you need it needs any change?
Oh, they have a 4-year strategic plan, and the grassroots, they have initiated around 20 states in the country. But what change I would want in the whole thing is that they need to enlarge the base, because if from 1.25 billion, at least 20 million should play football in a very organized, structured way. And that should be, they need to be more ambitious, because today they are very conservative that in terms of numbers of engagement, which is, not, it is around 60,000 or 70,000. That's not an encouraging number. They should have a, 20 million target for next 5 years. And there, they need to engage as many stakeholders as possible. Anyone, schools, government organizations, private organizations, clubs, different social organizations, NGOs, all that. Therefore, that number we should reach. And if that number we have, we can become a talent hub of the world. That's what my expectation is. If we can engage, 10 million, 20 million children, And see, in 5 years, all the scouts of the world will be setting their shops in India.
Okay. On that note, you want to say
So,
something?
yeah, can I just add to that?
Yeah.
One thing about grassroots, what I think everyone should understand is it's not about just getting some underprivileged children who look like they need to play football and play. I think that is a concept. No, seriously. I mean, I've seen so many corporates saying that, okay, we are doing grassroots development, and I see, why are you, making them play? They don't know how to play. What's the point? You identify the right kind of players, okay, whatever age group is, and then, channelize and bring them in. That's something that, if it's, of course, the federation is doing a great job in terms of identifying these things and making sure. But if at all anybody is planning to do even a CSR activity, just don't blindly go into it. We don't want to feed the bukanangas. We want to feed the talent. That is what is more important. That is what everybody should follow.
Great. On that note, thanks so much. Yeah, sure.
I'll just like to add to, by the way, I completely agree with Shirish. The other thing I think that we'd like the state federations and the national federations to do is actually have a proper league for the under-14s, the under-16s, and the under-19s. Not just a 1-month tournament, not just a 2-month tournament, but actually a league where they actually play football for nearly 6 months and they're training for it.
Rishi, Shaji, Shirish, thanks so much for joining us. The next session up, I'm going to call on Gaurav Kalra, my friend, to come. It's the session that I've been waiting for. It's the death of the sports magazine in the digital age, and some of my favorite panelists will be on stage. So I'll let Gaurav introduce that.